Hi there! For today's video, we are going to continue learning about realistic fiction and the process in making a realistic fiction story. The last couple of days we've been watching videos on what is realistic fiction, how do you brainstorm a realistic fiction story. So today we are going to continue with those videos. But before we get started, let's go ahead and go over characters, setting, and events for a realistic fiction story. So characters in this type of story, the people are going to act and talk like real people. Animals are going to act like pets or other real animals. So no talking dogs, no talking animals. People act and behave like people. The setting. The setting is a place that could be real in today's world. So you're not going to have a castle underwater or a castle in the sky with flying dragons, right? No, that is not real. You'll have a setting maybe like a beach or a school or a home. Those are all real settings that could be in today's world, okay? And then the events that happen throughout this realistic fiction story, they could really happen in real life. The characters have problems that real people might have. The problems get resolved. So a problem, maybe your pen runs out of ink, right? That's a real problem that could really happen to someone. All right, so let's go ahead and watch that video and continue learning the process in making a realistic fiction story, because yesterday you started brainstorming for your realistic fiction story. So let's go ahead and continue. All right, make sure to pay attention as we watch this little video. In this little video, she is going to give us ideas on how we can start our story. When we get to a certain point, I will let you know which idea we are going to focus on for our story. So make sure you're paying attention.
Realistic Fiction Writing for Kids, Episode 3, Writing an Introduction. In the last episode, I started brainstorming some ideas. I thought about the characters, setting, problem, and solution I wanted to include in my story. Now I'm ready to start writing, but I need to begin with an introduction. A good introduction will get the reader interested in reading your story. The introduction should also introduce the main character and the setting. There are many different ways you could start your story, but here are a few of my favorites. 1. Describe the setting, especially if there is something special about when or where your story takes place. 2. A sound, starting with a boom or a bark, will definitely get your reader interested to read more. And 3. Dialogue. You can start your story with a character talking.
Remember, dialogue is the conversation between characters. The one I want us to focus with, since our stories aren't that long, there's just a few sentences, I think we should really focus on setting. So when we start our story, let's focus on starting it with a setting. So she's going to give an example, and we'll talk a little bit more about this afterwards.
I'm going to try to use a combination of all three of these ideas for my introduction. So here we go. One winter day, Mary was cuddled up on the couch with her dog, Sam. Swish! Wow, it sounds like a blizzard outside, said Mary. Sam ran to the door and barked to go outside. Okay, said Mary. She put on her heavy coat and Sam's leash, and they walked outside into the snow. Did you see how I introduced the setting? I used a sound, and I made my character talk? That makes a good introduction. Now I'm ready to write.
So, one winter day, that's setting, swish is the sound, said Mary, so Mary's one who's talking. But which one are we focusing on? Are we focusing on sounds or conversation, the dialogue, or are we focusing on the setting? We're focusing on setting. That's how we will begin our little realistic fiction stories.
Write the rest of my story, including the big problem that happens when Mary takes Sam outside. Uh-oh. Check out episode 4 to see how I start writing a draft of my realistic fiction story.
Okay, let me go ahead and go get my story from yesterday, and then I can start brainstorming what I want to say first. Hi there. Okay, so do you remember my story from yesterday, my realistic brainstorming page? Okay, so let's go over the characters I had. I had Alice, Fred. My setting was where? In a park. My problem was Alice dropped her cookies on the ground. My resolution, how the problem was fixed, was Fred gave Alice some of his cookies, and she was all happy again. All right, so what I'd like for you to do is take a moment, go ahead and see if you can't find your page. I'm going to give you a little bit to look for it. You may pause the video. Okay, so go ahead and try to look for your page from yesterday. Alrighty, if you need more time, just pause the video. If you can't find your page, you can always go to a new page and write today's date, which is 4-21-21. Okay, you are going to need your brainstorming page. So if you can't find it, try to find it after the video. But what I want to do now is, we said I was going to focus on setting, right? I'm going to start my story off using the setting. So let me think. My setting is the park. So, let's see. One sunny day in the park, comma, Alice and Fred were playing tag. Okay, did you notice how I included my setting? One sunny day, remember it was a sunny day in the park. Alice and Fred were playing tag. So what I'd like for you to do is, if you haven't found your page, you might need to make a new one. But I want you to use your brainstorming page, focus on the setting, and think of a sentence you can write to start off your story. So I'm going to give you some time to do that. If you don't have your page in front of you, then what you can do is, okay, so go ahead and think back to yesterday's brainstorming page. What was your setting? Think of it. And then in your mind right now, start brainstorming. Okay, how do I want to start off my story? Start thinking to yourself. I'm going to give you some time to look for it. And if you already have it in front of you, then you can start writing. Give you some time to do that. All right, if you're at home, go ahead and finish up your sentence. If you're at school and there's enough time, maybe your teacher can let you finish your sentence. If not, then tomorrow for our reading activity, we are going to come back to this page. So make sure you find this page, or you make sure you make a new brainstorming page, because we will continue writing and finishing up our little realistic fiction story. Okay.